Hope everybody's doing all right. Welcome to the African History Network show. It is Sunday, July 11th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Now, Thursday, which was July 8th, Thursday night, we saw that Zaila Avant-garde became the first African-American to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee. And this is a brilliant 14-year-old sister. And she already holds three Guinness Book World Records for juggling multiple basketballs at a time. But this is a brilliant sister. She is brilliant when it comes to mathematics also. I talked about her Thursday, and we also talked about her on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, July 9th, and we talked about Zaila. We also talked about the meeting that civil rights leaders had with the President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. We discussed that as well. I'm going to try to share an excerpt of that discussion with you. But something, if we look at the assassination of the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse, and if we look at Zaila Avant-garde, these two stories are connected. Now, Zaila was the first African-American champion of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. She's 14 years old, but she was inspired by another sister who was 13 years old named Magnolia Cox. And Magnolia Cox in 1936 came in 5th place in a national spelling bee. And she had to deal with segregation as well. Washington Post has a very interesting article. Spelling bee champ Zaila Avant-garde was inspired by a black girl named Magnolia Cox. Okay. But even before Magnolia Cox, did you know that the first national spelling bee held in this country was won by an African-American girl who was 14 years old? Her name was Marie C. Bolden. So we're going to talk some about Marie C. Bolden as well. But the story of Zaila Avant-garde and Haiti and the Haitian president being assassinated and the history behind Haiti, all this is related. Why is this related? Well, Zaila Avant-garde is from Louisiana. The Louisiana Territory became part of U.S. territory in 1803. It was known as the Louisiana Purchase. That was signed by President Thomas Jefferson. And the U.S. got 828,000 square miles of land for less than 3 cents an acre. They got all this land for all the land west of the Mississippi, all the way to the Rocky Mountains. They got that for $15 million. And they bought it from the French. Why did Napoleon Bonaparte and the French sell all of this land so cheaply? Because they were getting the hell beat out of them by the Haitians during the Haitian Revolution. Because the Haitian Revolution was taking place at this time from 1791 to 1804. So we see a connection between the history of Haiti and what's taking place in Haiti right now. Zaila Avant-garde winning the Scripps National Spelling Bee, and she's from Louisiana. And Louisiana becomes part of the Union because of the history of Haiti and the Haitian Revolution. So we're going to connect all the dots, connect all this together on today's show. And let me see. Okay. I want to make sure that was all that I had planned, because this is a jam-packed show. I was going to talk about some other things, but we'll have to deal with that on Monday's show. Now, in the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. You can also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and sign up for our email newsletter there as well. Okay. All right. I want to bring back on the line from the Pan-African Newswire. I want to bring back on Abayomi Azikiwe, who's the editor of the Pan-African Newswire, to give us an update on what's going on in Haiti. How you doing today, Abayomi?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm all right, brother. It's just been a very, very busy day, brother. It's been a very busy day, man. Yeah. Well, look, man, thanks for coming back on and sharing this information with us, giving us an update on what's going on in Haiti. So I've been following the updates from the Miami Herald, as well as the Miami Herald, as well as the New York Times. And if we look here at some of the updates, we see that, well, number one, we see that they were calling for the U.S. To help, and it appears that the U.S. is just going to send investigators in from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to help, as opposed to actually sending in troops. And then we see that there's a report that President Jovenel Moise's wife has spoken out, but it's not clear, hasn't been authenticated, at least at the time of this broadcast, whether it was her or not. We also see that Haitian officials investigating the Moise assassination say they have arrested a Florida doctor as well, who somehow has a connection to the assassination. So give us an update on what's going on.
Well, thanks again for having me on.
No problem.
Yeah, you mentioned before about the call for U.S. military intervention, and that has been done by Claude Joseph,
yes,
who is the interim prime minister, which is controversial because a lot of people in Haiti, as well as the Haitian diaspora, does not agree with him in regard to him claiming authority within the country. Now, it's interesting that the United States appears to be recognizing him as the legitimate authority in Haiti. And, of course, we had the assassination of the president just 4 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks more and more like a coup d'etat, perhaps with the acquiescence of the United States and other international powers against the Jovenel Moise presidency. And the reason why I believe this was the situation is because Moise was scheduled to leave office. Well, based on his own schedule, he wanted to have elections in September.
Right.
Nonetheless, according to the political system in Haiti, he was ruling by decree. He should have been out of office about 5 or 6 months earlier, but he continued to extend his tenure in office. Now, he had been backed heavily by the United States.
Right.
But at the same time, with all the instability that's been going on in Haiti for the last several months, it's important that we look back at least until the beginning of this year, where there's been an escalation of violence in the country. There's been growing discontent with President Moise and his administration. There's been gang violence inside the country, and of course the G9 group, which is headed by a man that they call Jimmy Barbecue. He's a former police officer in Haiti, ostensibly turned gang leader.
Okay.
It's very interesting that he's declaring himself a revolutionary, but at the same time, it appears as if he was supporting the Moise government. And even as of yesterday, I saw a news clip of him where he was saying that, although he didn't support Jovenel Moise, that these foreigners who came into the country and assassinated him had no right to do so. The Colombians, according to news reports, many of them were former military personnel in the Colombian army, which we talked about Thursday, and has been a conduit for United States imperialist interests in Latin America. They receive enormous amounts of resources from the United States, monetary resources. The U.S. supplies weapons and other tactical and diplomatic support to the Colombian government. They've been doing it for years because they want to stave off a revolutionary guerrilla movement, which has been fighting for many years in Colombia. They want to prevent them from taking power. So it appears that this was an attempted coup. The coup, of course, would benefit in terms of personalities, Claude Joseph. And although there's another prime minister, Henry Ariel, who was slated to be inaugurated, I believe, the day after the president was assassinated. And then, of course, there's Lambert, Charles Lambert, who is the senator in Haiti. And although there are 30 members of the Senate, only 10 are functioning at this point. Now, I don't know the exact reasoning as to why that is, but out of the 10, ostensibly 8 approved him to be appointed as the interim president. So in essence, you have 3 different persons who are vying for political dominance.
Exactly. Hey, let's do this, Abayomi. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. We're coming up here on a break. Hey, Jalen, I just sent you a clip. Just 1 second. I just sent you a clip from Al Jazeera. Let's play about 30 seconds or a minute of that clip, Jalen, as we and then we'll go to break. This is from Al Jazeera, and this gives an update also on what's going on.
A sign of how scared people in Haiti are. A false rumor spread on social media that the U.S. was giving out visas. A massive crowd showed up at the embassy only to be disappointed.
Faced with this reality, the Haitian people are left to themselves. They cannot go out. They want to go to safe places. When people heard the rumors saying that the U.S. Embassy is giving exile to the people, they came.
Haitian officials have asked the U.S. for more than that, a contingent of U.S. troops to help secure the country.
We're not asking for the occupation of the country. We're asking for small troops to assist and help us.
U.S. media reports the troops will not be deployed. Instead, they will send law enforcement to help with the investigation into the assassination of Jovenel Moise. His widow, also injured in the shooting, sent this message on social media. You knew who the president was fighting against. These people hired mercenaries to kill the president and his family due to the projects for roads, electricity, drinking water supply, organization of the referendum and elections, for the final abolition of political transitions. The president has always believed in institutions and stability.
Okay, yeah, pause it right there. We're coming up on a break here. That is from July 11th, 2021 from Al Jazeera. We're speaking with Abayomi Azikiwe, editor of the Pan-African Newswire. He's giving us an update on what's going on in Haiti. We'll continue this discussion on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Stand by. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on social media platforms. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by, everybody. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 11th, 2021, and we are live. Calling number is 313-778-7600. If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Now, right before the break, we were speaking with Abayomi Azikiwe. He's the editor of the Pan-African Newswire. Now, the Pan-African Newswire is a digital newswire created in 1996. And Abayomi has spoken in all different platforms in the media, everything from Al Jazeera to, I think, CNN. You've been on CNN also, right, Abayomi?
No, no, I've never been on CNN.
Okay, I know Al Jazeera.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, Al Jazeera, yeah, definitely. But CNN, you know, they have certain people they have on and others they do not have on.
Okay. Well, Abayomi is the editor of the Pan-African Newswire. It is an electronic press agency that was founded in 1998, I should say, founded in 1998. He has worked for decades in solidarity with the liberation movements and progressive governments on the African continent and the Caribbean. Abayomi is a graduate of Wayne State University. That's where we met when I was an undergrad at Wayne State back in the early 90s in Detroit, Michigan, where he earned an undergraduate and graduate degrees in political science, public administration, and educational and administrative studies. Okay. Now, Abayomi, right before the break, we're going to go back to that clip from Al Jazeera. Jalen, just a second here. Right before the break, I was sharing a update in from Al Jazeera. And Abayomi, are you on a speakerphone?
No, not
okay.
now, no.
Okay, all right. Because my board op was saying, yeah, he was saying that he's getting a lot of echo.
Getting some echo. Yeah, I hear echo on my end.
You hear echo on your end? Let me see something. Let me see something. I'm not sure why there's an echo. All right, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Just hang up and call back into the line. It may be a bad connection or something. Okay, just hang up and just call right back into the line, and Jalen to get the line. Okay. All right, thanks.
No problem.
All right, thanks. Okay, we're going to reestablish connection with Abayomi Azikiwe. I want to look at the updates very quickly here from the New York Times. And then also we're going to go back to this clip from Al Jazeera. We're also going to look at this, listen to this clip from ABC World News Tonight. They have an update as well, dealing with food shortages and fuel shortages in Haiti. So Haitian authorities arrest Florida-based doctor in President Moïse murder. The national police chief indicated that he believes the doctor, Christian Emmanuel Sanon, was plotting to become president. Okay. Haitian officials investigating the Moïse murder say they arrested a Florida doctor who was central in the plot. and we're going to blow this up here. Hopefully everybody can see this here. Who is central in the plot. A Haitian-born doctor based in Florida has been arrested as a central suspect in the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. And the national police chief suggested at a Sunday news conference, Sunday, July 11th, that he believes the suspect was plotting to become president. The doctor who they are reporting, his name is Christian Emmanuel Sanon. He's 63 years old, is now the third Haitian-born suspect with U.S. ties to be arrested. Other suspects include 18 Colombian men, most of them former soldiers. We know the Colombian government has admitted that these were soldiers back on July 9th. I'm looking, I printed up all these updates. Back on July 9th, Colombia said 13 of its ex-soldiers are among suspects in the assassination. And we know that was the, who was that? I think that was the, I forgot which official that was. I'll find that here. But anyway, the Haitian National Police Chief, Leon Charles, painted Mr. Sanon, Dr. Sanon, as a key figure behind the president's assassination. Quote, he arrived by private plane in June of 2021 with political objectives and contacted a private security firm to recruit the people who committed this act, end quote, the police chief said, Police Chief Leon Charles. The firm, he said, was a Venezuelan security company based in the United States called CTU. I want to go back to this clip here from Al Jazeera, then we'll go back to Abayomi Azikiwe. Let's go back to this clip from Al Jazeera, Jalen.
It's not clear who paid for the mercenaries who allegedly carried out the attack, many of them former members of the Colombian military. But while that investigation continues, so does the political uncertainty. The interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph says he's in charge, but he was set to be replaced before the killing by Ariel Henry, who now, along with politician Joseph Lambert, says they will take over. Lambert tweeted that his Saturday inauguration was postponed. There is a behind-the-scenes push in the country and in Washington to figure out the way forward. But so far, there is no clear solution for a poverty-ravaged country battered by gang violence, the coronavirus, and now political infighting. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Okay, pause it right there. All right, so Abayomi, tell us what's going on here, and what do you know about the Florida-based doctor who's been arrested?
All I've heard is just what you just played.
Okay.
Christian Emmanuel Sanon, 63 years old. They're claiming that he arranged to have these mercenaries come into Haiti, and along with two Haitian Americans. The Haitian Americans, according to press reports, are claiming that they were hired as translators,
right,
for the Colombians because they speak Spanish. But we'll have to see what evidence they have and what ties Christian Emmanuel Sanon has with elements in Haiti as well as the United States, because there's a lot of corruption, obviously, that has been going on in Haiti for a number of years.
Right.
A lot of the politicians that have been using their state positions to loot the national treasury. We could talk about the Petro Caribe oil project that was being boasted by Venezuela, where they were able to supply oil to Haiti, and a lot of the money disappeared from the institution, over the last several years, and that caused a lot of unrest in Haiti since 2018. Right after the official recognition of Jovenel Moïse, there was unrest in the country, like massive rebellions, general strikes over corruption within the government, and the fact that there's very few opportunities for employment or business opportunities in the country, and the country is heavily dominated by U.S. Finance capital. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very bad situation for the ordinary people who live in Haiti. And in terms of the gang situation inside the country, some of the Haitians that I've heard speak since Wednesday when the assassination took place are saying these are actually death squads. They wouldn't describe them as gangs. That this guy, Jimmy Barbecue, who heads this G9 Federation of Street Gangs, in fact, is a warlord, in their opinion.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, he was connected with the former government of President Moise. Nonetheless, these issues have to be further investigated. And the U.S. government, and we talked about this Thursday, has a very sordid history of interventions in Haiti, and they have not benefited the Haitian people at all. So to have the president assassinated, and then the person who is designated, that is Claude Joseph, as interim prime minister. He was the prime minister, but his term was supposed to expire, right before the president, right after the president was assassinated. And he's being recognized by the U.S. And other key players in Haiti as the official authority inside the country. And one of his first moves was to invite the U.S. military to come into Haiti. I mean, this is pretty outrageous if you think about it. So if you look at the chronology of events, the unrest, the proliferation of violence inside the country, and of course the contention over the president ruling by decree, his assassination,
right,
and then the claim to power, by Claude Joseph, it's clearly, a coup d'etat, and knowing the history of the United States involvement there, in all likelihood, this is being managed by the U.S. So the FBI is probably, and Homeland Security, are probably well aware of what happened to the president and some of the other dynamics that are going on inside the country.
Okay, so if we go to talking about that and talking about the U.S. Intervention, et cetera, and the cry for the U.S. to come in, and Claude Joseph wanted U.S. troops to come in to help stabilize the country. We know that a state of siege has been declared, which is equivalent basically to martial law. Okay, that was declared a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
But if we look at the update here, also from New York Times and other outlets are picking this up. Miami Herald reported on this as well. U.S. investigators will begin assisting Haiti in the hunt for president's assassins. A team of American government investigators is ready to begin assisting the investigation into the assassination of Haiti's president, a senior Pentagon official said Sunday, July 11th, while the White House and Pentagon are reviewing the Haitian government's request for troops to help secure the country, because this request went out a couple of days ago. There has been little enthusiasm for sending American soldiers or Marines to the country, to Haiti, but a team of FBI agents and Department of Homeland Security officials will assist the investigation into last Wednesday's killing of President Jovenel Moise of Haiti. John Kirby, the Pentagon press secretary, told Fox News. Kirby said on Sunday, July 11th on Fox News, quote, "I think that's really where our energies are best applied right now, helping them get their arms around investigating this incident and figuring out who's culpable, who's responsible, and how best to hold them accountable going forward," end quote. Now, Abayomi, we know that the U.S. occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934. And we talked about the involvement that was dealing with John Bertrand Aristide and things like this in the past, former president of Haiti. What do you think, what role, if any, at this point, all things considered, what role do you think the U.S. should play right now regarding Haiti?
I don't think they should intervene militarily. We've seen a disastrous history
now
of U.S. intervention.
Right now, when Abayomi, when you say intervene militarily, what do you mean? Intervene how military? What do you mean?
sending troops
Okay.
to Haiti.
Okay.
They've done on many occasions.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned 1915 and 1934, where there was
Right.
an occupation.
Right.
They instituted segregation in Haiti, and they were lynching people there. There was a guerrilla movement that came about called the Caicos, to fight against the U.S. Military occupation. And you can look at what happened in 91 and 94. In 91, they backed a coup against Aristide.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the country deteriorated, they launched an invasion to reimpose them in power. Then 10 years later, they invaded again, France, the United States, and Canada, to overthrow Aristide again and exiled him to the Central African Republic. And he was not able to leave until the South African government, Thabo Mbeki, who was president at the time, offered him political asylum. And he was allowed to go to South Africa. And later he did return to Haiti. Interestingly enough, he is in Cuba now receiving medical treatment, apparently for COVID-19. This happened just a few days before the assassination of Juvenal Moise. So it probably was good that he was out of the country because his party, the Famille Labalas, is essentially banned in the country, and a lot of their activists have been killed, imprisoned, and driven into exile. So this could have been an opportunity to launch further attacks on him during this period.
Okay, now, so we see right now, at least, we see the U.S. is not sending troops. Okay, they're going to send a team of FBI agents and Department of Homeland Security officials that will assist the investigation into the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. Now, do you think they should send investigators? Is there a role that the U.S. should play, or the U.S. should just do nothing? What do you think? What do you think should happen?
Well, we know the history of the FBI.
Right.
They're anti-black. The precursor to the FBI brought down Marcus Garvey in the 1920s.
Right.
We know what they did against people like W.B. Du Bois, Shirley Graham Du Bois, Alpheus Hunton, even going to the 50s with Martin Luther King, and of course in the 60s against Smith, the Black Panther Party. They came up with this notion of black identity extremism, and this was just 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. They wrote a whole memo on black identity extremism as being a threat to the United States. So who really can trust the FBI to do anything that is relevant to African people? They are heavily militarized, the FBI in this country. They're part of the Department of Homeland Security. We don't know what other agencies, government agencies within the Department of Homeland Security are accompanying the FBI to Haiti. In all likelihood, they're going to go there, do an assessment of the situation, and then make a recommendation to the Biden administration in regard to military intervention. The U.S. has a huge embassy in Port-au-Prince, the capital.
Right.
And we know the CIA is embedded in diplomatic personnel all over the world.
Right.
They have desks, that sit inside embassies. People have official cover. That's what they call it in the intelligence community. Although you may be an attaché or deputy ambassador, or even the ambassador, but in actuality, you're operating for the Central Intelligence Agency. So, no, I don't trust the FBI. I don't trust the Department of Homeland Security. The real solution to the problem is among the Haitian people themselves. There is no future in relying on the United States in regard to solving their internal problems.
Okay, so the U.S. should stay out altogether. Should the U.S. send aid, or should they just stay out altogether? Now, should any other nations, regardless of whether they're African nations, should any other, whether it's Cuba, anything, should any other nations provide aid to Haiti? What do you think should happen?
Yeah, I think they should, and it should be done on a multilateral basis.
Who is they?
But there needs to be safeguards.
Who is they?
Any country in Latin America.
Okay.
Any country in Africa. Even organizations inside the United States that are already doing charitable work in Haiti need to be empowered to address the current situation. That's what has to happen. But if they send in U.S. troops, the situation will only worsen. And we've seen there's considerable historical precedence for this. Even in 2010, 11 years ago, when they had a massive earthquake in Haiti that killed approximately 200,000 people and displaced at least 1 million people, the U.S., under the guise of providing material assistance, sent troops again to Haiti. And a lot of the materials that were brought down, that were donated, were never distributed to the Haitian people, at least not distributed on an equitable basis. They had airplanes that went and dropped food in villages and in small towns, as if the people were animals, more or less. I mean, it was so insulting in regard to what they did. Also, we have to remember this Haitian Relief Fund that was set up, where the Clinton Foundation was involved, and initially George Bush Jr. was involved, and they raised a considerable amount of money. They initially said they wanted to raise $500 million. It may have been that or more. And they said we're going to build houses for people who had been displaced as a result of the earthquake. And in all total, 6 homes were built out of all that money. So what happened to the funds? And Hillary Clinton, when she ran for president in 2016, was being questioned about this. And in response, they dissolved the Clinton Foundation. But it's a lot of questions that remain unanswered in terms of what happened to the aid that was supposed to be given to Haiti 11 years ago that did not benefit the people whatsoever. So, no. The CARICOM, which is the Caribbean community, should be empowered. I don't see any solution in sending U.S. troops into Haiti. Now, they could, diplomatically, they're saying that they're not interested right now in sending troops in, but we have to keep watching this, because they may say that. And then in 2 weeks, you'll hear that thousands of troops are being sent to Haiti as a result of an assessment by the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the State Department, etc.
All right. Very quickly here, I want to go to this article here from Al Jazeera. I talked about it Thursday on the show when I had you on. Haiti's turbulent political history, a timeline. Haiti's turbulent political history, a timeline. And this goes back to 1492, when Columbus and the Spanish conquer the island of Hispaniola. And you're going to have the French, who are going to end up taking the western portion of the island of Hispaniola and call it Saint Dominique, and then Saint Dominique becomes Haiti. And we see a Haitian Revolution takes place 1791 to 1804, and the Haitians declare their independence January 1st, 1804. But Spain colonizes, and now this is the same year, 1492 is the same year that the Moors lose control of the last stronghold in Spain, which was Granada, January 2nd, 1492. All this history is connected. August 2nd, 1492, the Spanish expelled the Sephardim, the Sephardic Jews. August 3rd, 1492, Columbus set sail on his first of 4 voyages on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And Hispaniola is one of the areas, one of the islands that he conquers in his first of 4 voyages. But Spain colonizes the island of Hispaniola after arrival of Christopher Columbus. 200 years later, Spain cedes the western half to France. Plantations worked by slaves of African origin produce sugar, rum, and coffee that enrich France. They talk about 1801. Former slave Toussaint Louverture leads a successful revolt and abolishes slavery. Now, the Haitian Revolution begins in 1791. They talk about 1801, but it started 10 years before then. 1804, Haiti becomes independent under former slave Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who was assassinated in 1806. 1915, United States invades Haiti, withdrawing in 1943, but keeping financial control and political influence. then it goes on from there. You have Papa Doc Duvalier, Baby Doc Duvalier, etc. Read this piece here from Al Jazeera, Haiti's Turbulent Political History, a Timeline. Very quickly here, I want to go to this 2-minute clip here from ABC News, World News Tonight from today, July 11th, giving an update on the turmoil in Haiti. Then we get your closing comments, Abayomi. Let's go to this clip here, Jalen.
Haiti, the country reeling after the assassination of its president, desperate scenes, shortages of food and fuel, people lining up when they hear about a station with gas, using any kind of container they can find to haul it away. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Port-au-Prince for us again tonight.
Tonight, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security are sending agents to Haiti to help investigate the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. Authorities have arrested at least 20 people, including 2 Americans. According to the acting Prime Minister, Claude Joseph, 28 foreign mercenaries carried out the attack. 19 of them are from Colombia.
My only and ultimate goal is to give justice to President Jovenel Moïse.
Since Wednesday's attack, the city of Port-au-Prince has wrestled with returning to normal. But normal has long been a struggle here. Desperate scenes like this one have become increasingly common as the country faces economic turmoil. Haiti has been in the midst of a gas shortage, and it leads to scenes like this, people lining up for fuel because the opportunity to get gas is spontaneous. Soleil is a father of 2. He tells me you have to fight to find gas. Helen John was on her way home from church when she saw the station was selling fuel. So she stopped to fill up her 2 gas cans, and she says she was hurt by the news of the assassination.
This was only something you read about in the history book, but now you all are living it.
She says this is something she could have never imagined. Lindsay, we are told the U.S. teams that are on the ground right now assessing the interim government's request have met with the Prime Minister, and they will brief President Biden once they get back to the U.S. as the investigation into this brazen attack continues. Lindsay.
Marcus, thank you.
Okay. Pause right there. All right. Abayomi, go ahead with your final comments.
Well, yes, this is a crisis because if we look at Haiti, its significance in African history is paramount. They were the only country, really, to have a successful slave revolution. Now, in Brazil, of course, there were the Mercenaries and other independent communities. And, you know, we had them here, too, in Florida and the southeast of the United States during the 19th century.
Right.
But they were a government where they went from enslavement to national independence.
At Amazon, we help people find a new career path, even if that...
You know, for the independence struggle that evolved in the 20th century. So, if you look at the history of the United States involvement in Haiti, it's not been a progressive one at all. They supported in the 1790s the French against the African Rebellion and later Revolution.
Exactly.
And then over a lot of the you know, the history of military intervention.
Right. The U.S. was allies of the French. During the Haitian Revolution, the U.S. were allies of the French. You had the British, the Spanish, the French. The British, the Spanish, and U.S. were allies of the French against the Haitians. Okay, during the Haitian Revolution. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, they did not want a African revolution in the Caribbean because it would definitely set the stage, you know, for similar actions, you know, throughout the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
And then if you look at the period between 1804 and 1862, which we had touched on the other night, there was a blockade against Haiti. So it was, and not only by the United States, but also by France.
Right.
And they would not lift the blockade unless the Haitians paid indemnity. So they wanted the Africans to pay for all these sugar plantations that were destroyed, all the plantations that were burned down from 1791 and after that period, before they would recognize them and allow them to conduct trade. So it's been a continuous effort to strangle Haiti, but it's a model for the African world in general. You know, even though you have independence, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're economically sovereign. or economically independent. Look at the international banking system, the way it's set up.
Right.
They can pressure countries and cause them to overthrow governments, force them into famine and other national disasters and humanitarian crises. So, these are some of the elements that people need to take into consideration. Every time the U.S. goes in, just look at Libya, for example, the most prosperous country on the African continent 10 years ago.
Right.
They owed no money to the IMF and the World Bank. They had a sovereign wealth fund of over $170 billion. And the U.S. intervened, and all that money is gone. Same thing in Iraq. They stole like $9 billion out of the treasury. And they did the same thing in Haiti during the 20th century, between 1915, when they invaded. They took, all the national treasury and had total control over the economics of independent countries. So there's no reason to believe that they won't do anything different in 2021 if they intervene. So it's really up to the Haitian people to resolve their internal contradictions and to move towards the independent course of governance in the country.
Very quickly here, I want to reference this article that we talked about Thursday from Forbes.com. In 1825, Haiti paid France $21 billion to preserve its independence. Okay, time for France to pay it back. And it talks about the reparations that France had to pay, that Haiti had to pay France for France's losses and the plantations that were burned and everything like this during the Haitian Revolution, which is really strange because Haiti is the one that needs reparations, not France. But in 1825, barely 2 decades after winning its independence against all odds, Haiti was forced to begin paying enormous reparations, quote unquote reparations, to French slaveholders it had overthrown. Those payments would have been a staggering burden for any fledgling nation, but Haiti was not just any fledgling nation. It was a republic formed and led by blacks, by Africans who had risen up against the institution of slavery. As such, Haiti's independence was viewed as a threat. Haiti's independence was viewed as a threat by all slave-owning countries, including the United States of America, and its very existence rankled racist sensibilities globally, because it wasn't until about 1862 that the U.S. recognized Haiti as an independent nation. Okay, because they did not want and you had like we said Thursday, it's believed that Nat Turner's mother came from Haiti. Nat Turner's mother's slave master fled Haiti in the 1790s and came to the U.S. and brought his slaves. And you're going to have this happening. You're going to have slave owners who flee Haiti and come to the U.S. And we're going to see in 1811 in Louisiana the German Coast slave uprising and about 500 slaves. That was inspired by the Haitian Revolution, but the U.S. wanted to keep the news of the Haitian Revolution away from slaves here, because they didn't want it to spark slave revolts. Okay. Thus Haiti, tiny, impoverished, and all alone in a hostile world, had little choice but to accede to France's reparations demands, which was delivered to Port-au-Prince by a fleet of heavily armed warships in 1825. Very quick, we only have a couple minutes here left before the break, Abayomi, but go ahead and let people know how they can read the Pan-African Newswire, how they can support you all as well, if you have a Cash App, PayPal, anything like that as well.
Yeah, you can log on to panafricannews.blogspot.com. That's panafricannews.blogspot.com. I also have a Facebook page under my name, Abayomi Azikiwe.
Okay.
There's also a Pan-African Newswire Facebook page. And there's also a radio program, the Pan-African Journal, worldwide radio broadcast. We broadcast twice a week. I'm also on Twitter as well as Instagram, so you can reach me on all those platforms and just inbox me, to find out how you can help and support the work that we're doing.
Okay, no problem. All right, Abayomi, man, thanks for coming on, and we'll reach out to you soon and bring you back. Okay. All right, no problem. All right, have a good day. All right, peace. All right. Okay, that's Abayomi Azikiwe, editor of the Pan-African Newswire. We'll come up here on a break. When we come back, we'll talk about civil rights leaders from legacy civil rights organizations met with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris regarding voting rights and the For the People Act. They met this past week. And also we'll talk about Zaila Avant-garde, 14-year-old African-American girl, first African-American girl to win the Scripps spelling bee, but not the first African-American to win a national spelling bee. The African History Network show, 9:10 a.m. Superstation. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. We'll be back from break in just a minute here. All right. If you all like, how's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. All right, back from break in 2 minutes.
After January.
All right, stand by. Back from break in 1 minute.
FDF Farmington Hills, Detroit, 9:10 a.m. Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 9:10 a.m. Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 11th, 2021. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. So we just spoke with Abayomi Azikiwe, editor of the Pan-African Newswire, to give us an update on what's taking place in Haiti. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ TheAHN Show through Cash App. $ TheAHN Show through Cash App. Also through PayPal. PayPal.me/TheAHN Show. PayPal.me/TheAHN Show. And up here on the screen, we have our official Cash App account, $ TheAHN Show, SHOW, through Cash App. And when you go to it, it'll show my name, Michael, and then it has my picture there. These other ones, or fake African History Network Cash App accounts that somebody else set up. I already reported them to Cash App. They've been stealing money from us. If you sent money to these fake ones, contact Cash App, let them know, ask them to send your money back. All right. Also, we have a new 10-week online course that I teach Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This class just started up Sunday, July 4th, the 4th of July. It meets Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We deal with ancient Africa and ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, Nubia, Ethiopia. We also deal with Ghana, Songhai, Mali. We deal with great African civilizations. And we deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors. So when you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, scroll down the page, you'll see the information for our radio show. We're here 6 days a week. And then you'll see information for the online course. Click on register here. It takes you to the next page, and just click on enroll. You can register for the course. It's regularly $130. It's on sale $80. And we do the class live, but all the sessions are recorded. We do the class live, but all the sessions are recorded, so you can go back and watch them over and over again. As soon as you register, you can watch the class that I just did today. All right, 313-778-7600. is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so this past week, we know that legacy civil rights organizations, leaders from legacy civil rights organizations, met with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And they talked about they impressed the urgency of passing the For the People Act, as well as in removing the filibuster or somehow modifying the filibuster as well in the Senate. So there was an article from blackamericaweb.com. Okay. And I'm going to pull this up here. This article here from blackamericaweb.com. Biden Harris meet with civil rights leaders as groups push White House to preserve voting rights. Ahead of the 2022 midterm elections, movement leaders and congressional Democrats are concerned about the recent attempts to disenfranchise African-American voters. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered when I was on Friday. I'm usually a panelist on each Friday. And this meeting took place on Thursday, July 8th. The Biden administration held a closed-door West Wing meeting with leaders from some of the prominent civil rights and social justice organizations on Thursday, July 8th, at the urging of movement leaders and congressional Democrats who are concerned about the recent attempts to disenfranchise African-American voters and marginalized groups, especially in light of the upcoming 2022 midterm elections. On Thursday, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris sat down with leaders from the NAACP, the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation, the National Council of Negro Women, the Leadership Conference for Civil and Human Rights, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the National Urban League, and the National Action Network. Okay. Reverend Al Sharpton, National Action Network. The group also reportedly discussed the importance of police reform across the country, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which has already passed the House of Representatives. It passed March 3rd, 2021 in the House of Representatives by a vote of 220 to 212. No Republicans voted for the bill. 212 Republicans voted against the bill. It's really 213 because the one Republican who voted for the bill tweeted out that he accidentally voted for it and he was going to correct his vote. So it's really 213 Republicans voted no on the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP, said, in our meeting with the Biden administration, we expressed an urgent need for legislation that provides equitable access to the ballot box and offered strategies for mobilizing locally and nationally to ensure democracy works for all. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris was appointed by President Joe Biden to oversee the White House's work on extending and preserving voting rights. Okay. She was at Howard University on Thursday and announced a distribution of $25 million to help in this effort also. Okay. We're going to go to that clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a second here, Jalen. Okay. Now, she was at Howard University, her alma mater, on Thursday, and she unveiled a $25 million expansion of the Democratic, the DNC's, Democratic National Committee's I Will Vote initiative, which addresses voter suppression. Voter suppression. She said this campaign is grounded in the firm belief. She said this campaign is grounded in the firm belief that everyone's vote matters, that your vote matters. We want to help to make sure your vote is counted. And that is because our democracy is strongest when everyone participates. Now, read the rest of this article here from blackamericaweb.com. We'll post a link here on the thread of the broadcast. On Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, July 9th, Roland spoke with two people who were actually in the meeting. Janetta B. Cole of the National Council of Negro Women, and she's national chair of the National Council of Negro Women, and also Melanie Campbell, president and CEO of the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. All right. Now, also White House reporter April Ryan says that President Joe Biden talked about getting closer to ending the filibuster and his increased confidence that the voting rights bill will pass. I want to go to an excerpt of this interview that Roland did with Janetta B. Cole and Melanie Campbell. Then he goes to his panel for response, and I'm on the panel, and you definitely want to hear what I said. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
And impact others. Every time they try to do something to hurt us, we know historically it will hurt them, but unfortunately it will hurt us more.
But the issue here, Dr. Cole, is simple. There are two senators who've made it clear that they are not going to end the filibuster. And so the question is this pressure, is it going to be targeting Sinema and Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema of Arizona, Joe Manchin of West Virginia? I mean, the arguments that Melanie laid out, we have made, we have heard, numerous people have said it. The reality is this here. There are two Democratic senators who are refusing to end the filibuster. That's why the For the People Act, the Voting Rights Act, has not been passed. All of that is hoopla about Joe Manchin having a Voting Rights Act compromise. That died when they couldn't break the filibuster. He keeps hollering bipartisanship. She keeps saying bipartisanship. They can't find 10 Republicans. So, all right, what now?
You're so right. Let's just use simple arithmetic. We don't even have to call it mathematics. We need every Democrat, I mean every, to stand up and speak out and vote in the interest of the people. We know that historically, this filibuster has been used to stop issues being passed, acts being passed that are in the interest of the people. And so I'm not going to sit here, Brother Professor Roland, and act as if this is just a little challenge. You know, we can do the arithmetic and we can convince some more Democrats and maybe even a few Republicans. This is a serious challenge. And one of the things that I liked so much about our time yesterday with the president and the vice president of our country is that they had a spirit of realism, not optimism. Because when you do the simple math, it's hard to call it optimism. But realism says that there are still ways that we can get legislative action. Because if we can't, then we have to ask, what happened to our democracy?
My only final comment.
I would say, Roland, one of the things that we continue to speak out about is reforming the filibuster. That we put that out there, and that's part of the message too. I mean, and it's not about. I don't know that we can convince 10 Republicans. I participating in these meetings.
First of all, the answer is no. Okay, I mean, I'm sorry. The answer is no.
That's fine. But I can tell you this, brother, you know it. We're not going to sit on the sidelines. We got to keep pushing and fighting. It's like that's the bottom line. But
on the fight,
pressure.
But on the fight, did y'all press President Biden to put more pressure on Sinema and Manchin?
Okay, of course we did, Roland. Anybody that needs to be put pressure on, whether it's Democrat or Republican, we get that, right? So as I stated at the beginning, we put it out there. We told him they need to use the bully pulpit. He is the head of the Democratic Party. So those two people are Democrats. So put the pressure on your friends and your foes. But also, I don't think we can just do it through the normal process of just sausage making, which is why it's important that we all do what we can to push and get the people. We need a movement about this. We need a real movement that will take place in this country, because at the end of the day, whatever we do, we won't get anything. We can get something short term if we're able to get some other kinds of legislation passed. But if we don't have the ability in 2022 to pick the candidates of choice, we are in trouble for a decade and longer, because some of us have lived long enough to know that. Right, so we know it's an uphill battle, and that's why it's like we need all hands on deck, and we got to support each other, and we got to raise the hell that needs to be raised with our friends and our foes.
Dr. B. Cole, Lonnie Campbell, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
All right, y'all take care. Michael, I'll start with you. Here's the deal. I need to see Biden putting pressure on Sinema and Manchin. He's not. When he spoke in Tulsa, he said 2 senators. He wouldn't even name them. We knew he was talking about, but he wouldn't name them. And so here's the dilemma that these legacy civil rights organizations are going to have, and Cliff and Latasha with Black Votes Matter have talked about it. You're going to come back to black folks and ask for more? What argument can be made that you got control of the House, you got control of the Senate, you control the White House, and you still can't get a voting bill passed?
Roland, I'm going to try to be as respectful as I can. I saw press conferences yesterday. I saw interviews with people that were in the meeting, and I know I'm 50 and I think my hearing is going out, so I thought I ain't hear what I heard, but I got earbuds on right now. Listen to them. So I respect the sisters. I think we need less love vote and more Amistad slave revolt. First of all, I ain't hear anything about putting pressure on corporations that help finance Sinema and Manchin, as well as the GOP. Okay, dude, this is, as I said like weeks ago, dude, we have to have an all-out 50-state economic guerrilla warfare push on this, man. This is serious. These people, the GOP, they're not playing. They're trying to take us not back to 1865. They're trying to take us back to 1890, the Mississippi State Constitution that instituted poll taxes and literacy tests that Janetta B. Cole was talking about. That goes back to Mississippi, and other southern states started following. FEC.gov, brother, ProPublica, back in, I think, 2016, 2018, when Cindy Hyde-Smith was running for the Senate seat in Mississippi, ProPublica put out the information from the FEC.gov that talked about the Republicans who were being funded by corporations. Dude, that's public knowledge. Federal Elections Commission. We have to expose stuff like that. But also on Sinema
and Joe Manchin. Who are the corporations who are financing them? Notice how before today, now we know Toyota came out today and said they're not going to give any more money to Republicans who.
No. They announced they had stopped funding those who would not certify the election. Then they quietly begin to give money back. It wasn't until the Lincoln Project and other groups publicly outed them where they were like, okay, yeah, we're not going to give any money. But all of those companies who were making all of those cute public dropping press releases at the January 6th quietly have gone back to giving money.
Exactly. No, but I'm talking about the news that came out today about Toyota. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Dude, we're speaking the wrong language to these people. It ain't nothing. One of the things that Reverend William Barber is doing, and see, we got to expand this beyond just African Americans. This is people who don't vote for Democrats. This is young white people, white college students. This is Latinos. This ain't just a black thing. Dude, these people are, look, man, we need a Bumpy Johnson of politics to take these people's heads off politically, not figuratively, not literally, politically. We're not doing anything that's going to scare them. This is what I'm saying. So the other thing is we have to educate the masses. I was speaking in Atlanta for the Juneteenth Festival. I did 2 presentations. I'm speaking to, I talked to 50 people asking questions. How many votes does it take to get a bill passed in the House of Representatives? Everybody wants reparations, but 9 out of 10 people can't tell you how to realistically get reparations. Okay? So we have to, and lastly, I'll wrap up with this, brother, because this ain't my show, this is yours. June 1941. Executive Order 8802, President Franklin Roosevelt, which desegregated military jobs in the Department of Defense. He didn't do that out of the kindness of his own heart. He did that because A. Philip Randolph, president of the Brotherhood of Sleeper Car Porters, put his foot up his ass and threatened to put 100,000 African Americans marching on Washington to embarrass Roosevelt. After we voted for Roosevelt, see that's pressure. This stuff here, man, they ain't scared of none of this stuff. The other thing is one of the reasons why I think they're not talking about corporations. Unfortunately, I understand, they get donations from corporations, but the hell with that, man. Look, we need less Love Boat, more Amistad.
The thing here, Brittany.
Pause it right there, Jalen. We need less Love Boat and more Amistad slave revolt. Okay, because not only do you have to pressure Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kristen Sinema, 2 Democrats. Not only do you have to pressure them, you got to expose who's financing Republicans and vote them out of office as well. All right. Now, when you go back and look at Executive Order 8802 and A. Philip Randolph, okay, and him threatening to put 100,000 African Americans marching on Washington to embarrass President Roosevelt, there was a demand backed up by a threat. There was a demand backed up by a threat. What's the threat backing up the demand here? Okay, we'll talk about this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. All right. Stand by. We're back from break in 4 minutes. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ the AHN show through Cash App. $ the AHN show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Okay, when we come back, we'll talk about the spelling bee, Zaila Avant-garde, and we'll talk about the first National Spelling Bee that was held in the U.S. That was won by an African American girl also. This is it here. Did I send that one?
I'm Dan, the Superstation, the oldest radio station in town since 1922.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 11th, 2021, and we are live. I want to remind you, you can still register for the 10-week online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We have a new class that started up on Sunday, July 4th, the 4th of July. And as soon as you register, you can start watching the course content. You can watch the first two classes because I just taught class number 2 today. And we do the classes live. It takes place Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And even though the class is live, all the sessions are recorded. So you can go back and watch them over and over again as well. Okay. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And when you scroll down the homepage, we have the information there. We'll post a link here also so you can register for it. You can use this information with your children as well. I would say the course content is PG-13. Okay. I would say it's PG-13. I don't do a lot of cursing and yelling and screaming, and it's not vulgar or things like that. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips, guest speakers in the class as well. Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence, spoke to my class on June 12th. The Saturday class is wrapping up. Also, we had an African-American female archaeologist, Nubia Wardford, who goes to the Sudan and does archaeological digs. She spoke to my class as well. She's from Detroit. We've had her here on the show a number of times. But right on our homepage, click on register here. It takes you to the next page and click on enroll. And as soon as you enroll, you can start watching the course content. You can start watching today's class and last Sunday also, and then you'll be registered. You'll be ready for the class this coming Sunday. Also, there's going to be a new 10-week online course that I'm launching. It's going to be the first time I've taught this. So those that have taken Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, you definitely want to take this new course. It's going to deal with history from 1865 to 1965, that 100-year period of time, especially here in the U.S. African-American history from 1865, the end of the Civil War, the ratification of the 13th Amendment, June 19th, 1865, through Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877, through Jim Crow era, Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, U.S. Supreme Court case, 1898, U.S. Supreme Court case, Williams versus Mississippi, which the U.S. Supreme Court upholds the poll taxes and literacy tests that were put into the Mississippi State Constitution in 1898. Takes us through World War I, World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement. So we're going to go to 1865 through 1965, really up until about 1970. So each class is going to be a 10-week online course. Each class will focus on approximately a 10-year span of time, okay, to really understand this. And then we can see how politics shapes all of this. We can see how these historical events are related, and it brings us right up to today. So you'll hear more about that. We'll probably have that on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, in about a day or so, where you can register for that 10-week online course as well. All right. So right before the break, we were talking about the meeting that the legacy civil rights organizations had with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. That took place on Thursday, July 8th. Read the article from blackamericaweb.com. There were other articles written as well. Read this article here from blackamericaweb.com. Biden Harris meet with civil rights leaders as groups push White House to preserve voting rights. Okay. Also, while that clip was playing, and visit Roland Martin's YouTube channel, Roland Martin on YouTube, and also Roland Martin on Facebook, because you can watch that. That was just an excerpt of that interview that he did with Janetta B. Cole and Melanie Campbell. Watch the entire interview. I was showing this other article here from ProPublica.org, and this one is called How to Follow the Money in an Election. How to follow the money in an election. You don't have to be a journalist or investigator to see who is funding who when it comes to U.S. politics, especially during an election. Here are some ways to see what's at play in the national and local races that matter to you. This is from October 30th, 2020. We have to engage in all-out economic guerrilla warfare. Okay, you have 389 bills in 48 state legislatures pushed by Republicans. They have a coordinated effort to suppress not just the African-American vote, but the vote of white college students, many elderly white people who vote for Democrats, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans. Okay. So read this one here. Campaign finance laws make it so that you can look up where your candidate's money comes from. This is at fec.gov, which is the Federal Elections Commission. When you listen to that entire interview that Roland did with Janetta B. Cole and Melanie Campbell, I love the sisters. They did not talk about putting economic pressure on corporations. They didn't talk about economic withdrawal strategies, none of that stuff. This stuff they're talking about, they ain't gonna scare nobody. I'm just being honest with you. And when I was on Roland's show, I just wanted to cuss so much. Okay, it took all of my strength not to cuss on his show. Okay, but campaign finance laws make it so that you can look up where your candidate's money comes from, how they're spending it, as well as what groups are spending on their behalf. A ProPublica tool called FEC Itemizer lets you browse electronic campaign finance filings, allowing you to follow the money for yourself. So ProPublica was the one that put out the article back when Cindy Hyde-Smith, things back in 2018, Cindy Hyde-Smith, the public hanging woman from Mississippi, was running for the Mississippi Senate seat, okay, U.S. Senate seat. And it came out, it was published that corporations that financed her, okay, they would donate money to her. Then the corporations, when they got exposed, because all this is public information, this ain't secret. It's the Federal Elections Commission is the federal government, okay? Anybody can go. I've been to the website, and you can look up anybody running for a seat in the House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate or president, and you can see it shows you who donated to them and the corporations that donated to them, how much they donated, all this stuff. We should be putting all out economic pressure on corporations that finance Kristen Sinema of Arizona, Joe Manchin of Virginia, but also Republicans as well, especially Republicans that were involved in the incited the January 6th insurrection. See, it's like, there's a difference between activity and productivity. There's a difference between activity and productivity. There's a difference between swinging, hitting the air, and swinging, actually trying to hit somebody, knock somebody the hell out. There's a difference. A lot of times we confuse activity with productivity. All right. So check this out from ProPublica, how to follow the money in an election. And then also visit fec.gov. Okay. We'll probably talk about this some more this week. I want to get to these other stories, but first we're going to go quickly to the phone lines. We're going to talk about the spelling bee in just a minute. And the first national spelling bee was won by an African-American girl. We're going to talk about that history as well. Let's go quickly to the phone lines. Let's go to line one. We had James in Virginia. James, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for calling. Thanks for holding. Go ahead with your question or comment.
We lost James.
Okay, lost James. Okay, call back. All right. So this past week, we had all this take place in the same week. Assassination of President Jovenel Moise in Haiti, and then also we had Zaila Avant-garde, this 14-year-old phenom who is not just brilliant when it comes to spelling and brilliant when it comes to doing complicated math, but she holds 3 Guinness Book of World Records for juggling multiple balls at the same time. Okay, she's a brilliant sister. I watched a number of interviews with her as well, but this past week we see Haiti in the news, and then also we see Louisiana, because she's from Louisiana, and Zaila is from Louisiana, and we know that Louisiana was French territory, but Louisiana becomes territory of the U.S. in 1803 because of the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. And the Louisiana Purchase of 1803 happens because France has to raise money. France and Napoleon Bonaparte have to raise money because they're getting the hell beat out of them, and rightfully so, by the Haitians during the Haitian Revolution. So because of the Haitian Revolution and what those Africans did in Haiti, beating the hell out the French, this allows the U.S. to acquire 828,000 square miles of land for less than 3 cents an acre in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. I want to go to this clip here from NBC Nightly News from July 9th, 2021. 14-year-old makes history as first African-American spelling bee champion. Let's go to this clip.
This is what 14-year-old Zaila Avant-garde is famous for this week. We say this week because you're surely going to hear from her again. Zaila just became the first ever African-American champion of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. The winning word, Maria.
Does this work contain like the English name Murray, which could be the name of a comedian?
Bill Murray made the spelling bee. It's actually a type of tree.
Murraya.
That is correct.
Perhaps fittingly, her next step may be on the hardwood. You see, Zaila says for her, spelling is just an hors d'oeuvre. Basketball's her main dish, with 3 Guinness World Records to her name, from dribbling to juggling. So what do you even call that? And it's good to have goals. Zaila sharing those this morning on Today.
Yeah, going to Harvard to play basketball, and then maybe going to WNBA or overseas or something before I like go into my next thing of like working at NASA or something like that, or being a basketball coach.
About that last name, her dad changed it to Avant-garde in honor of jazz musician John Coltrane. His daughter now on the fast train to SUCCESS.
Okay, that was from NBC Nightly News. There's videos of her on her Instagram page. She has 12,000. Well, before she won, she had 12,000 followers on the Instagram page. She probably has 1 million followers now. There was a good article from BlackAmericaWeb.com on Zaila as well. African-American spelling bee champ makes history with flair. They talk about how Zaila knew she would be the first African-American winner of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. She knew African-American kids around the country were watching Thursday night's ESPN2 telecast, waiting to be inspired and hoping to follow in the footsteps of someone who looked like them. She even thought of Magnolia Cox, C-O-X, Magnolia Cox, who in 1936 became the first African-American finalist at the Scripps Spelling Bee and was not allowed to stay in the same hotel as the rest of the spellers because of segregation. We're going to go to this interview that she did with ABC News. And in this interview with ABC News, she also references Magnolia Cox. Let's go to the interview from ABC.
Welcome back. Can you spell winner? Because our next guest certainly can. It's time for Feel Good Friday, and today it's all about the new Scripps Spelling Bee champ, Zaila Avant-garde. Zaila is just 14 years old, but she's already a Guinness World Record holder, a basketball champ, and as of last night, she's the first African-American to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee since the competition started in 1925. Take a look.
Murraya. Murraya.
That is correct.
And Zaila's here with us now to tell us all about that historic moment. Zaila, thanks so much for being here, and a huge congratulations to you.
Thank you.
So what went through your head when you heard them give you the word Maria? Were you nervous, or did you know that you had it at that point?
The first thing that went through my head is basically like a song from the Lost in Translation track, Too Young, which is like why I asked my question about like Bill Murray and stuff, because like I've always associated that word with Bill Murray's name. So Too Young is like a song from that soundtrack of Lost in Translation. So that's literally the song that started going through my head when I got that word.
That's a really interesting technique that you use. So when you started hearing the song and picturing the word, did you know like, okay, I've got this now?
Oh yeah, the second I heard it, I knew it. That's how I am at work usually. I get the word and I know it immediately.
So talk me through this prep, because it sounds like you have a pretty specific strategy for how to remember all of these words and how to spell them all. So what does an average day look like going into this? How do you prepare?
The main reason that I can remember all these words is because basically, even though I do 13,000 words a day, I can't remember. I don't remember all those words. So what I do is I kind of think of it as like a mental filing cabinet under term roots. And so roots are like the parts of a word that when put together make a whole word, like say tubifoot. And it has the tuba meaning tube in it. And so I know that root, and that's how I immediately put it together. And that's kind of, it's like a building block kind of. And that's like a big part of how I do this. And like when I study, I just, like I said, do 13,000 words a day, which takes about 7 hours. And I have tutoring lessons with my tutors, Coach Schaefer Ray, who was a runner-up in, I believe, 2015. And Sneha Ganesh, who was also a runner-up in a different year, and her mother, Vijaya.
So how did you get into this? What attracted you to spelling? Was this something that you were just good at initially and decided to explore, or was there something else about it?
I've always been kind of good with words and stuff. Like I've read like 1,000 books, like over 1,000 books, I'm sure at this point. And because I'm really into reading books and stuff, just words in general. So the spelling was kind of like an outcropping or like an outgrowth of like my love of words.
You made history last night as the first winner from Louisiana and the first African-American winner since the competition started in 1925. What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. To be the first African-American winner is like a really big thing to me, because I'm definitely hoping, I've always been a bit surprised that there were no winners, even though there was someone back in the 30s, I believe, who her name was Magnolia Cox, and she got 5th place in the spelling bee. Through segregation, her mother couldn't even come to the hotels and stuff. But when I came, my parents could come to the hotels and stuff. So I'm hoping a lot of people see me and maybe think about going into spelling and general, just education in general.
Now, this isn't the first time you've made history. You currently hold 3 Guinness World Records for basketball, including the world record for most basketballs simultaneously dribbled. I want to call up that video again because it's really incredible.
All right. Hey, pause it right there. Jalen. Okay. So That was from ABC News. We're going to post a clip here. That's from July. That was from Friday on ABC News, Friday, July 9th. And this is a brilliant sister. She got the name Avant-garde, the last name, from her father. Now, her father was watching. They talk about this in the piece from blackamericaweb.com. Her father, first of all, she has only been competing in spelling bees since she was 12 years old. She's 14. Okay. Usually they'll start much younger, 5, 6 years old, things like this. But she started at 12 and she's national champion at 14. But many of top Scripps spelling bee spellers start competing as young as kindergarten. Zaila only started a few years ago after her father, Jarara Spacetime, watched the spelling bee on TV and realized his daughter's affinity for doing complicated math in her head. He realized his daughter's affinity for doing complicated math in her head could translate well to spelling. She progressed quickly enough to make it to the nationals in 2019, but bowed out in the preliminary rounds. That's when she started to take it more seriously and began working with a private coach named Cole C-O-L-E Schaefer Ray, who is a 20-year-old Yale University student and the 2015 Scripps Spelling Bee runner-up. Okay, so she practices, she trains 7 hours a day, but then she also is a fantastic basketball player. She wants to play in the WNBA. She also wants to go to Harvard University. Now, hopefully she'll go to Howard instead of Harvard. Hopefully she'll go to HBCU. She wants to coach in the NBA and also work for NASA. Okay. Zaila, now her dad gave her the last name Avant-garde in tribute to jazz musician John Coltrane. She is a singular champion of a most unusual spelling bee. Now, this was the first Scripps spelling bee in more than 25 months because in 2020 it was canceled because of COVID-19. She'll take home $50,000 in cash and prizes. So this is a fantastic story. But as I said, we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and maybe on tomorrow's show we'll play the segment where we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I said this type of genius that she has, all of our children have it. They just need the right teachers, the right love and affection from parents, etc., to bring this out of them, the right support. She got support from her parents, rightfully so. So a lot of this credit, we also have to give it to her parents as well, her mother and her father also. She is a basketball prodigy who has appeared in a commercial with Stephen Curry and owns 3 Guinness World Records for dribbling multiple balls simultaneously. She's from Harvey, Louisiana, and Louisiana is connected to the Haitian Revolution. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Okay. There was also a good article here from NOLA.com. NOLA.com. Louisiana teen is more than a spelling bee finalist. She's a 3-time world record holder. So I want to go to this article here from Washington Post. We're going to go to that clip from MSNBC dealing with the spelling bee, Jalen. Spelling bee champ Zaila Avant-garde was inspired by a black girl named Magnolia Cox. This is why. Now, she mentioned Magnolia Cox there in the interview with ABC News. And Magnolia Cox is mentioned in the article from blackamericaweb.com. Okay. About 3,000 people jammed into Union Station in Akron, Ohio on the evening of Sunday, May 24th, 1936. A military band played. A young man led some of the crowd in cheers. Others burst into song. They were all awaiting the arrival of an unlikely hero, a tall and slender 13-year-old black girl named Magnolia Cox. The shy 8th grader was Akron's spelling bee champion. A month earlier, Magnolia, Macnolia, a month earlier, Magnolia Cox had stood on the stage at the city's armory with 50 other children, the top scorers on a written spelling test. After 24 rounds, there were 2 spellers remaining. After 37 rounds, there were still 2 spellers remaining. Finally, Magnolia Cox emerged victorious with the proper spelling of sciatica, S-C-I-A-T-I-C-A, and voluble, V-O-L-U-B-L-E. Magnolia Cox became one of the first 2 African-American children to qualify for the Scripps National Spelling Bee, held annually in the nation's capital. The other was 15-year-old Elizabeth Kinney of New Jersey, who was also bound for Washington, D.C. Okay, so this talks about the history of Magnolia Cox. Now, there was, before Zaila became the first African-American to win the Scripps Spelling Bee. Before her, there was another spelling bee, another national spelling bee. So Scripps is not the first national spelling bee. Okay. The first national spelling bee was held by the National Education Association. In 1908, the National Education Association spelling bee was won by an African-American girl named Marie C. Bolden. Marie C. Bolden became the first African-American to win a national spelling bee. I want to go to this clip here from the week on MSNBC with the week on MSNBC, and they talk about the what impact did a spelling bee have on you, but they talk about Marie C. Bolden and the controversy. This win by this African-American girl from Cleveland created racial controversy, and it created national headlines. Let's go to this clip.
Myself included. Never got past districts, though. Nowhere near as far as a young lady from Louisiana who took the title this year.
N-U-R-R-A-Y-S.
That is correct.
On Thursday, Zaila Avant-garde won the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Miss Avant-garde fought through words like elevenses, querimonious, solidunculate, and her winning word, Maria. Her prize, $50,000 in cash. Spelling bees fascinate me. These quirky competitions with all the stress of the Super Bowl. Competitive spelling has been around in this country since the 1800s, back before all children were taught to read and write. And these contests were not always as beloved as they are now. The New York Times had a rather cynical view back in 1875. It was also a bit chauvinistic in devaluing spelling contests. Apparently, the writer of this editorial thought these contests would benefit young women less than just being a good homemaker. Then again, the Times had some strange ideas of entertainment, at least based on what it advertised in that day's paper. Anyone up for some minstrelsy and Negro comicalities? Anyone? Spelling bees did catch on, though, including by that name, Spelling Bee. Some of the earlier names were kind of violent. How would you like to enroll your kids in the trials in spelling? Or how about spelling combat? Don't that sound wholesome? Or my favorite, a spell down. Spell down. So the event itself is interesting enough, but that brings us back to this year's winner. Zaila Avant-garde is the first African-American to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee. It's not the kind of accolade black kids get very often. 15 years ago, black spellers got a bit of the spotlight thanks to the Disney movie Akeelah and the Bee. Keke Palmer played a prodigy from South LA who makes it to the national championships. Ms. Palmer congratulated her real-life counterpart this week on Instagram, writing, quote, "The real-life Akeelah, you guys. I'm so happy in my heart," unquote. It was a happy moment for many people, the kind of winner we do not often see at spelling bees. But is it so rare to see Black students excel at this? Here's the thing. Zaila Avant-garde is the first African-American winner of the Scripps National Spelling Bee, but she is not the first Black winner of any National Spelling Bee. The first bee, before Scripps was involved, was sponsored by the National Education Association, the teachers union. It took place at the Cleveland Hippodrome in June of 1908. Back then, competitors were on teams from various cities, including New Orleans, Boston, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. But the New Orleans team threatened to drop out when they realized who they would be competing against. One of the girls on the Cleveland team was Black. It took some convincing, but organizers were able to keep the New Orleans contestants in the game. And it was a very different game. Part written exam, part oral spelling, and the team with the best score would win. In the end, Cleveland won the bee, and one of its spellers had a perfect score. The Black girl. Her name was Marie Bolden, a 14-year-old. 14, just like Zaila Avant-garde. The delegates at the convention reportedly erupted in applause when she won. Even the other teams cheered for her. Civil rights leader Booker T. Washington was one of the convention speakers. After Marie Bolden's victory, he said, quote, "We spell out of the same spelling book that you do. And I think you will also admit that we spell a little better," unquote. So the first National Spelling Bee was won by a Black girl named Marie Bolden. Perhaps no one reacted as badly as the city of New Orleans did after they placed third. Black community leaders there wanted to hold a spelling bee in Miss Bolden's honor, but the city denied the permit. One newspaper account says the mayor withheld it for fear of sparking a race riot. He even told the police department to prevent the event from happening. But it gets worse. The school board in New Orleans pulled all of its white teachers out of Black public schools. It replaced them with Black teachers. And it passed a resolution censuring the superintendent, Warren Easton, for the whole fiasco. People blamed him for letting white students compete against a Black child. Think about that. This is not just about racism. It's about entitlement. The New Orleans city leaders felt so entitled, so above any Negro students who might be on another team, that when their squad lost to one, they could not even let Black residents celebrate. Who knew they would be so, what's the word? That's it. So queremonious. Thankfully, the state of Louisiana has come a long way since then. Its governor, John Bell Edwards, congratulated Miss Avant-garde for her victory. And William Tate IV, the president of Louisiana State University, has offered her a full scholarship. When Zaila Avant-garde leaped for joy, she was not just making history, she was repeating it. The nation's first spelling bee was won by a Black girl about her age. And now the Scripps National Spelling Bee has bookended that historical moment. Though it's not really a bookend, is it? More like a new chapter. A chance for every child to see themselves as a potential champion at whatever they want to achieve. I wonder sometimes about the other Black kids in school who laughed at me for being smart, for doing things like spelling bees. How different their lives might be if they knew that we not only could do it, but that we won it first. How many doors in life do we not even bother to open, never realizing that they were never locked in the first place? Wherever you choose to go, someone like you probably went first. And if they can go, so can you.
All right. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What impact did a spelling bee have on you? Tell us your story, whether you competed in one, organized it, or coached a player.
All right, let's pause it right there. Okay, email us at theweek@msnbc.com. Okay, that's Joshua Johnson for The Week on MSNBC. Once again, your thoughts create, once again, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, what you allow other people to do to you and get away with it is based upon what you think about yourself. African history gives us our foundation. It gives us our values, our interests, and our principles. This influences our economic empowerment, our political empowerment. And your thoughts create feelings. Your feelings create actions and behaviors. Your actions and behaviors create results. Zaila, I don't know if she knew about Marie C. Bolden, but she was inspired by Magnolia Cox in 1936. okay, who was a finalist in 1936. Read the article here from Washington Post, read the one from Cleveland.com also that I had up as well from Cleveland.com. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting for a couple more minutes. We're out of time here on 910 AM Superstation WFDF. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can also support us, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Right now, it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, stand by. Okay. All right, everybody. Let me disconnect that call. Okay, so read this article here from Cleveland.com. We'll talk some more about this on Monday's show, because I want to connect all this to the Haitian Revolution and the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803. Because the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, this gives this territory to the U.S. They bought it for $15 million. And Zaila is from Louisiana. We can see this article here from NOLA.com. Let me bring this back up from NOLA.com, which is a New Orleans publication. Louisiana teen is more than a spelling bee finalist. She's a 3-time world record holder. But we have to look at the history of how did Louisiana become part of the Union? Okay. How did the U.S. acquire this territory from the French? That's because of the Haitian Revolution. Haitian Revolution ties into the history of President Jovenel Moïse being assassinated. Okay. So Haiti is in the news the same week that Zaila is in the news. And what connects them is Louisiana, the Haitian Revolution, and the French. All that's connected. And then read the article here from the Washington Post. Spelling bee champ Zaila Avant-garde was inspired by a Black girl named Magnolia Cox. Okay. And so it's our history and culture that gives us our foundation. It gives us our self-esteem, our self-development, our self-worth. Okay. It teaches us about our heroes, etc. It teaches us about those that we can aspire to become. So she was inspired by Magnolia Cox. A lot of people did not know about Marie C. Bolden. Okay, I didn't know about Marie C. Bolden. Okay, and 1908, Marie C. Bolden wins the first national spelling bee. Okay, she becomes. If we look at this article quickly here from Cleveland.com, 17 years before the first ever Scripps national spelling bee, a 14-year-old Cleveland girl created headlines and racial controversy around the world by winning a spelling bee championship. Marie C. Bolden achieved a perfect score in a test of more than 100 words as part of the National Education Association's annual meeting in Cleveland. Okay, that's the teachers union. Marie C. Bolden. She helped Cleveland's team win first place against 8th grade teams from all over the country at Cleveland's now defunct Hippodrome Theater. Pittsburgh took second, New Orleans took third, and because Marie Bolden was African-American, the event caused furor in New Orleans, which still lived under Jim Crow racial segregation laws. This is 1908. This is the same year as the Springfield, Illinois race riot in 1908, which precipitated the and helped to initiate the founding of the NAACP in 1909. So in 1908, NEA, National Education Association organizers invited the nation's cities to send 8th grade teams to participate in a spelling bee at its convention, according to a radio interview conducted by Warren E. Hicks, who's a former Cleveland assistant school superintendent who ran the event. Now, the 34 cities did so, including Boston, Buffalo, Cincinnati, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh. Warren C. Hicks said that when the New Orleans team learned Cleveland's team included Marie C. Bolden, it threatened to leave the competition. Okay. All right, so read the rest of this article here. This is from Cleveland.com. Cleveland girls' spelling victory created racial controversy, national headlines in 1908. Okay. She was the first African-American to win a national spelling, national spelling bee. This was before the Scripps spelling bee. All right. Be sure to register for the 10-week online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. I'll post a link here on the thread of the broadcast. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again, even if you miss class. So the Sunday class meets at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I just taught a class today. This class just started up Sunday, July 4th. So as soon as you register, you can watch the class I just did. Click here to register. It takes you to the next page. Click on enroll. And as soon as you enroll, you can start watching the content. The class is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. So we're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. We have the information right here. We're on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time, and then Sundays 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have a new online course that I'm putting together. You hear about that this week. It's going to deal with history from we'll look at history from 1865 to 1965. Okay, history from 1865 to 1965, and it's going to be 10 weeks. It'll meet one day on the weekend. I think Saturdays, because I'm already doing a Sunday class. I think it's going to meet on Saturdays. And each class will break down this 100-year plus period of time into approximately 10-year increments. Okay, so it's going to be fantastic. All right. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
On Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world, bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our story, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30+ channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
All right. You have to get out of here. I'll talk to you